This one's for anyone who wants to cold call their leads to get their very first real estate wholesaling deal, to start their side hustle and eventually replace their W-2 income. Our guest today is Dillano Medina, and he's actually totally replaced his W-2 income for years, having done 60 deals since 2019. And on his first one, he made $5,000, which is pretty good for his first one, and elevated using these tips for cold calling that he's going to tell you if you stick around till the end. My name's David Lecko, and I created a process that's helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states. And my co-host is Ryan Haywood, who actually made $8,500 when he took a real estate wholesaling challenge in 14 days in 2019, and now he's done 422 deals since then. This is the podcast for 10xing your income and replacing your W-2 with wholesaling real estate.
So Dillano, let's talk first deal. What did you make on your first wholesale fee?
Yeah, so on my first wholesale fee, I made $5,319.
Okay, that's a good way to start. How long did it take you to get your first deal?
So in the beginning, I started out and learned about wholesaling, and it took me about close to 11 months for me to get my first deal, actually. I started while I was in college, so battling the schedules to be able to, talk to people, go out and find leads and opportunities. That was my biggest struggle, along with working a part-time, full-time job. When I mean part-time, full-time, I mean, at my job, I was working part-time, but I was working full-time hours, right?
What was the job?
I worked at Lowe's, man.
I knew it was going to be retail. I could tell. Anybody that says part-time, full-time, I'm like, it's retail. It's got to be.
Yeah. Retail taught me a lot about sales, obviously, and, talking to people and connecting with people. So, I'm definitely grateful for it. But, managing that. So, when I started out, I had a system and software because I got mentorship and coaching, and everybody's like, cold call people, pull a list. So I did that. And, I struggled, right? I struggled just like how a lot of people would normally struggle in this industry. Mm-hmm. And then around July, August, I got my first deal back in 2019. July, August of 2019, I found out about DealMachine, and that's what kind of helped me elevate to that next level as far as getting deals and doing deals on a consistent basis. So, with DealMachine, I kind of was just like desperate at that point. I'm like, look, man, I'm hearing about this new app. Let's see what it does. And I thought it was so cool because, when I'm driving looking for properties, I was just handwriting them down, and I was using another app, but nothing compared to the capabilities with DealMachine. I wasn't able to track my routes. I wasn't able to have a CRM full of leads that I could go back home and automatically start targeting. So once I used DealMachine, I was, messing around with the postcards, and I sent a postcard to somebody. And at first I was questioning if the postcards were actually getting sent, right? Because I'm hitting the button, send postcard, and I'm getting charged, and I'm like, okay, is it real, right? But I knew it was real when somebody had called me back from that first postcard. Actually, they texted me back, and they texted me a picture of the postcard. So I was like, okay, cool. So they're actually getting it works.
Yeah,
it works, right? And it was this lady that had this property, is in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She had this property for over 20 years, and it was a rental property. It was her only rental property. And she actually told me that she never wanted to buy the property. And I was like, wait, what do you mean by that, right? She told me that basically her dad told her that she should buy properties because obviously, that's the fastest way to, get to millions and make a lot of money. But she just was not really interested in the landlord space and owning properties. She was a gym owner, right? In Jacksonville, North Carolina. So real estate wasn't her forte, but she kept it for all these years. and rented to the same couple for over 20 years at a discount. So when I came across her, I said, hey, we'd be interested in buying the property. And, she's like, hey, what are you willing to offer? And at that time, I didn't, I'm still learning, still gauging, how to make an offer and things like that, how to calculate ARV. I calculate all that, and my numbers come out to a really low offer. And I'm like, man, there's no way she's going to take this, right? And I think my wholesale MAO for me to make like $10,000 was like $20,000.
What is go back to MAO? What's MAO?
Yeah, so
For those who may not know.
Yeah, sure. So MAO is max allowable offer.
Okay.
So that would be the maximum amount that you could offer the seller in order to make a certain profit on the deal, right?
Okay.
So
what was your formula on how do you calculate what that would be?
Yeah, so my formula was what everybody is typically taught when they first get into the game, 70% minus repairs, right? 70% of the ARV minus the repairs. So I calculated the ARV. The ARV came out to about 120, 125. Then I calculated, times 0.70%. And then I subtracted what I thought would be repairs. Obviously, I hadn't seen the property, so I was going based off of age of the house, age of the roof, age of, plumbing, electrical, does it need any updates? So I kind of, figured some numbers together and came up with a small repair budget, put that into my formula, and then my numbers came out at about $20,000, right? Mm-hmm. And for me, I was scared to death to make that offer because I was like, man, $20,000, some cars are worth more than $20,000.
Right.
Right?
She might be offended by this.
Right. And, obviously I was prying it out of her because I was always taught hey, whoever says the first price loses, right? Sure. So I was prying it out of her. I was trying to say, hey, what do you think it's worth? What do you think it's valued at? She kept saying, I don't know. Just give me an offer. Finally, I came to my senses and I said, hey, look, we can offer about $20,000. Right. And the phone just went completely silent for I'd say probably 10 seconds. Right. And we're just like, oh man, I'm sweating. I'm wondering what she's going to say. And then she said, okay, 20,000. Let me talk to my husband and get back to you. Right. And I got hit with that. Right. So I'm like, and I wanted to kind of overcome that objection, but because I was still so new to the game, I let it slide, right? I let it slide. But she calls me back and says, okay, we'll do 20,000. Okay. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, whoa. So that was the start of, where we're at today, obviously. And I got under contract for 20. We ended up showing two buyers, and I kind of had to finesse it a little bit because one buyer said they could come at this time. Another buyer said they could come at this time, right? And I was working with the renter directly, not the actual owner. So I had to, do one showing here, wait an hour, then do another showing. And the buyer that I ended up going with was the second buyer who, came from out of town actually to come see the property. So then once we locked up the property under contract, we basically went to closing. The day of closing, we found out that she had unpaid taxes on the property. Right. And at that point we were like, okay, well, what do we do here, right? And I'm talking to the seller. She's like, I'm not paying the taxes. If you want it, you'll have to pay them. So I work out a deal with the buyer. Essentially, I took out part of my assignment out of the deal to help pay the taxes. He covered the other half. And then afterwards, the number came out. That's how it came out so specific to $5,319.
Yeah. If it wouldn't have been for the taxes, what would you have made?
We would have made because the goal was 10,000, but I was settling with 7,500.
Right.
So it was about 2,000, I think, in taxes that I ended up taking out of my fee.
Yeah.
So I think it was like 4,000 or something altogether, or close to 5. So
Now, when you presented this deal to, first off, how did you find these two buyers?
yeah, great question. So I actually had a friend that I was doing wholesaling with in college.
Mm-hmm.
He actually dropped out of college before, and I actually went to college and graduated, right? But he dropped out before me, started a data company. He has his, wholesaling data company now. But as I was learning the business, he said, hey, I'm in this area, and he was actually from that area. I have a buyer's list, do you want my buyer's list? And I said, yeah, of course. So he just shared his buyer's list with me, right? But obviously he wasn't like, hey, I got a specific buyer for this deal. He was just like, hey, here's my list, right? So I still had to do the grunt work to call up buyers and see if they might be interested, right? So I was in the library at my school calling people, and I came across one guy. I said, hey, I have this property under contract. I sent it to him. He said I'd be interested, wanted to come out, take a look. I shared it with another guy. He went and took a look at it, and I actually went with the first buyer first, right? I actually signed a contract with the first buyer first, but what happened was once we signed the contract, he was doing his inspection, and then he was trying to come back on that price even more. And the second guy was like, yeah, I'll buy it. I'll close quick, and we could get it done as fast as possible. So
Well, how did you get out from the first one?
So I told him, I said, look, man, if you couldn't do the price, then we're just going to have to terminate.
Yeah.
I can't accept that offer if you're not sure, when I have another guy that says he can close quick with no inspection.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how it went. That's how it went. We terminated. I signed immediately with the new buyer. We closed in 6 days.
Good. That's awesome.
It was on Halloween, October 31st, 2019.
Dude, yeah, that's great. So what have you how many deals have you done now? Now that you got 11 months it took to get that one, what's your tally up to now?
I got to recount that specifically. But it's definitely it's over 50 plus for sure.
Okay.
It's
has your average assignment gone up from where you were?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because as I started gaining more traction in 2019, I started doing bigger assignments, but then my assignments in 2020 actually were a lot of really smaller deals, right? I did a lot of JV with people in 2020. Obviously, we had COVID and the pandemic and stuff like that. So I was networking with people on Facebook, and they would send me deals. I'd send them deals. We'd split it. I'd make like 1,500 here, 2,000 here, 2,500 here. I made a lot of $3,000 checks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I did a lot of those. And I talked to a guy that I actually did a JB with, and, I was telling them like, man, like, we're doing a lot of deals, but they're smaller deals. He told me this that stuck out, that I still remember to this very day, right? He's like, he gave me a baseball analogy. He said, in baseball, you can make it into the Hall of Fame with home runs, but you can also make it into the Hall of Fame with singles and doubles. Yep. And when he said that, I was like, wow, like mine was blown. So it was like, you can hit these home run deals. Maybe you do a few of those, or you can do a lot of smaller deals with other people, but maybe you have more impact as well in that regard.
Yeah, I love that analogy for so many reasons. I did play some baseball, and my size doesn't allow for much home run hitting, so it was always going to be base hits for me. So I got comfortable with that. But if you think about it, you get 1 point from a home run, but the potential to get multiple points out of base hits is bigger. you get 3 guys on base and 1 guy gets up and hits a home run, that's 4 points. So the potential, especially the more you do and the more comfortable you get with it, the earning potential gets better and grows. And so I always tell people, I'm like, man, if it's a small deal, just do the deal and get on and move on to the next one, because every at-bat, if you're going to use baseball analogy, every at-bat has potential.
Right.
But don't be disappointed, like, oh, man, I hit a single that time. Who cares? You got on base. Like, that's a stat that counts.
Right.
It's better than going out. And you can also probably go in the Hall of Fame for striking out. Or it may not go in the Hall of Fame, but you're going to set a record. So you might as well just get up there and give it a go. And, I think for us too, I did a deal last week. It was only $3,000, which is so much less than what we're used to now. And that's after hundreds and hundreds of transactions. But to me, I tell the team, I'm like, guys, just get it done. Spend as little time as you can, get that one done and move on to the next deal. If you do 10 of those in a month, that's $30,000. Don't worry about it. Like, get that $30K and go. So
right.
Cool. And what's up next for you? What are you going to do in the future?
Yeah, man. So, right now, I'm actually, continuing to run a wholesale operation. I actually last year started this group. I'm wearing my shirt right now, but I call us Deal Dogs, right?
Okay.
So everybody's heard the term bird dogs before, right?
Sure, yeah.
So I started this group, this program, whatever you want to call it, where basically I show people how to find opportunities in the market using, driving for dollars, using DealMachine. And I showed them how to recognize opportunity in their backyard, right? So when it comes to, finding deals, obviously, the biggest thing that everybody's looking for is a good deal, right? And just from my experience alone, I've seen a lot of my frequency in deals and my best deals have came from driving for dollars, right?
Yeah.
So, and typically, if you work for somebody or you're getting started in the business, you're treated as a quote unquote bird dog, right?
Yep.
Like somebody that finds the properties and you only get paid if that person closes a deal, right? Yep. But I kind of came up with the Deal Dogs analogy too, because there's actually this movie, it's called War Dogs. And in that movie, they were contracting with the government to, buy guns and buy weapons and different things like that. So I look at it like the same way, right? I'm showing people how to get in the field, prowl the streets to find those opportunities, and they'll bring them back to me. We'll convert the sellers, we'll close them, we'll pay out a fee. Or I say, hey, look, if you want an opportunity to be able to, get in this property with us, like now we're buying properties as well. If you want an opportunity to get into this project with us, we'll show you how from A to B, how to do the deal. And even after that, what the end product looks like as well.
Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast, because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom. So, and you just recorded a podcast with Ryan, and you talked about your first deal. And when I was following up, you said, well, I was really hoping to tell you how I got this deal in the last 3 months and with the unlimited contact info already. So can you tell me about that?
Yeah, man. So these past 3 months have been really, really busy last few months. I've been driving for dollars like crazy. I've just moved into a new area in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. And I started driving the area because they built a new casino where I'm living at now. And I was like, hey, this is a brand new market, brand new opportunity. So it was one Saturday, I just went out driving like for a few hours, 2-3 hours. And we ended up getting 2 properties under contract. We got one that we're in negotiations with. And we did another one in another county where we were driving for dollars, and I actually found the property, just kind of like virtually driving for dollars on DealMachine. So contacted this lady, got her contact from DealMachine, and she was actually the daughter of the person that owned the property. The person was deceased, and she had said, yeah, right now I'm in need of money. I really could use this. So, what do you want to offer? So it was a piece of land. I offered her tax value for it. And she was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Right. So then I was like, cool. So I sent her my contract. She was like a little bit skeptical at first because she had been scammed in the past and things like that. So I was like, look, I want to do this deal with you. I'm a real person. Why don't we just meet?
Somebody like got under contract but then didn't close?
No, it's just like she had been like scammed, just like basic scams, like Facebook scams and, people stealing their card information and, they're draining her bank account. So she had kind of like been in those situations. So she was already like very like protective. She was a nice lady, just wanted to make sure like this was actually real because I caught her out the blue. So finally I just said, hey, why don't we just meet, right? Why don't we just meet in person? So I met her in person like last month. And, we met at McDonald's, signed the contract, and then we found a buyer like very next day, right? And we were So I have a guy, he's actually Dispo on my team. I started this JV group in North Carolina, and basically we like JV, we partnered together. So if I bring a deal and I need somebody to find a buyer, they'll utilize their buyers list, and then we split the deal, however, down the middle or whatever way seems fair for everybody. So I let him find the buyer. He found somebody that works for like this big building company in North Carolina. And we were originally supposed to make $25,000, but towards the closing date, some things happened and they were, meeting with the city, and that ended up getting dwindled down. So we negotiated, we basically came down 10. So we ended up making like 15,000. But here was the extra caveat with that. At the closing table, because I had to literally take the seller to closing. I had to pick her up from her house, 45 minutes, drop her to closing, which was another 45 minutes in Charlotte. At the closing table, I'm there. The attorney says, yeah, we got title issues. There's other siblings, other people that need to sign on this property. And I said, oh God. And she didn't tell me about this at all, right? She just told me she was the executor, things like that. So finally I asked, all right, who all do we need to get involved? We had to re-skip trace those people, find those people. Luckily, some of the information was on DealMachine from another website we had to use. It was called Skip Genie. We used that to find the other relatives' contact information. And we contacted them, let them know what was going on. Everybody was on board to sign. So luckily it was smooth, but we had to like literally drive around and find people and knock on their door and hope they were home. And it was a crazy deal, but we ended up getting it done finally last Wednesday and closed on it.
Well, congratulations on closing that deal. Making 25,000, you said?
Well, we were supposed to make 25,000 and we just made 15,000. Well, I hate to say just made 15,000. We made 15,000.
So you said a guy was a dispo guy on your team. That means dispositions, which is the act of once you have a deal under contract, you're finding a buyer. That's what dispositions means. And you said you started a Facebook group for other wholesalers that have buyers that they're aware of, and they could sign a JV agreement, joint venture agreement on one particular deal that you have that you need help selling. And so that's where the buyer came from. So through that JV agreement, you and the other wholesaler who brought the buyer split the profit. Is that right?
Right. Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
Amazing story. So I'm just curious, so it sounds like the property in DealMachine had the contact of the one daughter or sibling. And did you export that, or did you just call it right from the app?
We exported it. So we exported once we found the update had reflected on all the leads that we had. We just we went driving for dollars, and then we just exported it, and then had everything on the spreadsheet. And then literally probably it was like my first call of the day she answered.
You're doing a bunch of calls at once. That's why you export it so you can put it in a dialer.
Well, so we do put properties in the dialer. Like we have a dialer that we have callers calling and VAs like in Egypt calling for us. But I don't know what it is, but when it comes to driving for dollars leads, we just see such high conversion just hand dialing it. Because one thing that
your number doesn't show as spam.
Right. The number doesn't show us. Yeah, the numbers don't show up as spam. And what I noticed is that, well, with a dialer, you can't double dial, right? You can only call that person once or maybe ring it a certain amount of times, but you get a higher response rate when you call somebody and they don't answer, and then you call again or you text again, right? So that's why with some of the DealMachine leads that we actually go and drive, we'll just hand dial them because we get a lot more conversions that way.
Oh, gotcha. Interesting. Do you skip trace as a part of your normal investing, or is this like a one-off deal?
Yeah, no, we skip trace individually. Part of our normal investing. The DealMachine skip tracing has definitely made it a lot easier though. Especially when it comes to the list builder. Like with the list builder, now we're just taking bulk amount of contact information and, specifying what kind of leads that we want. And then we're just taking that bulk information and then we're just putting it into, our dialer. Or we might even take a list from like PropStream or PropWire, import it in the DealMachine. DealMachine skips those, and then we do the same thing just to kind of test out the data.
Amazing. Have you found it to be an improvement in quality at all?
Oh yeah, man. I'm actually really surprised with the quality, actually, man, because I know like when some people are like unveiling skip tracing in certain ways, like sometimes people, have questions about the data and is it accurate? But I like that it tells you, hey, this is the potential person that you're reaching. I like how it'll tell you, hey, if it's a DNC do not call number. I like that. I don't see that in a lot of skip tracing companies, right? A lot of people don't filter that and spread that out, right? And I also like how it tells you, this is heavy usage or light usage, right? So it tells me if that person is, always on their phone, or if they use it a lot, or maybe they use their landline a lot. Maybe they're older, they use their landline a lot instead of their cell phone. So it kind of gives me a direction on which way to hit those people, if they're older or younger, whatever the case is. So, it's pretty simple, saving us a lot of money, saving us a ton of money. I'd say, definitely at least $1,000 a month, at least.
From the skip tracing?
From the skip tracing alone, yeah.
Dude, that's amazing.
Yeah, saving us a lot of money. So, DealMachine, man, is my best friend. It's my favorite app. I've been a customer for 4 years, almost 5 years, and, haven't deleted it yet, right? So,
well, thank you so much for letting us help you, man. It's been a pleasure, and appreciate you growing with us as well. Doing 60 deals now.
Hey, we're getting up there, man. We're getting up there for sure.
Cool. Anything else you want to share while we're on the podcast?
I want to also talk to the people as well about like as far as when you're driving for dollars, because a lot of people, they'll add properties, but they won't leave any type of contact for somebody to call you back if you do see a rundown in a distressed property, right? A lot of times, when I was starting out, I was just adding those properties in DealMachine, and then I was calling them, right? But a lot of people miss out on those opportunities of people calling you back. We just did another deal from Driving for Dollars where we made $15,000, and they called us back off a sticky note that we left them, right? And when they had called us back, the guy had said, yeah, his wife had recently died, and he was trying to figure out what to do with the property, right? And at the time, we couldn't find any information from him online, right? Like we used different websites to try to find his contact. So my advice also too would be for those people out there as well is the sticky note strategy, right? If you're driving for dollars and you're solely driving for dollars, don't be afraid to get out the car, put your hazards, and I got blue painter's tape. We take a sticky note like this, put it on the door, and man, we get a lot of deals that way as well too. But that's a sleeper. People sleep on that.
That is a sleeper because nobody's getting out of their cars like you're talking about.
Yeah, man. I get out. I get my steps in. I get my exercise in. I'm running, man. That it's just going that extra mile, right? Going that extra mile.
Right. Anytime you can do something extra that someone else isn't willing to do will give you an advantage.
Yeah. Definitely, man. Yeah, absolutely.
For a picture?
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Thanks so much, man. And I think I'm gonna weave this into the podcast you did with Ryan and make it one episode. That'll be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool, man. That'd be cool. I got a lot of fun deal stories that I could share, but it's just like, man, we'd be talking for ages. I know you guys want to cut it short and make it short, but it's it's fun, man. It's fun. I could talk about this all day. I could talk about different deals and opportunities all day. So
let's have you. I have a suggestion. It would be great to have you back. And
yes,
one of the best type of episodes that we can do is like a structured episode. So if you're like, hey, these are the 8 things that I learned in seller conversations, or
right.
I mean, like that. Think of something like that, and we'll start it off with a story about one of your favorite deals that kind of shows that, and then we'll, we could have a structured framework for people as well. That's something I'd love to try if you're open to it.
No, yeah, I'm definitely open to it, man. Anytime if you guys want to do another interview or
well, we'll schedule it again. I'm just curious if you you want to take a minute and after this and just think about, like, do I want to teach people what to look for, or important aspects of getting under contract or something like that, and then we'll make like a structured episode and have you on right away again. That would do well.
Yeah, I think I would do something like this is something new that I've been actually like trying and that it's been working, right? A lot of times when we are looking for properties that are run down and vacant, either that person died, nobody could get in touch with that person, and that property's just sitting there, right? But who knows a lot about the properties as well as who may own the property? The neighbors, right? So what I did on one deal was I skip traced the neighbor. I left a sticky note and I skip traced the neighbor and asked them about the property, and they told me everything about the property and even gave me the current owner of that property, their contact information. So that's something that we could also talk about as well too.
Yes, if you can break it down to like a framework, which just means steps. Be like, well, these are 8 things, or these are 5 things. Then let's do that episode. We can even do it next week during your slot that you had if you want.
I'm game, man. I'm game. We can definitely make that happen. We can make next week happen as well too.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, sounds good, man. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for today.
Absolutely, bro. Good seeing you.
You too. Dillano's 3 steps for cold calling for your first real estate deal is that you can use a dialer, but if you hand dial, it can avoid showing as spam when people are picking up their mobile phones and you're calling them. Also, hand dialing allows you to call back the same person twice, which he found to be more effective in getting answers. And also, he's saving $1,000 per month, skip tracing leads by using the unlimited contact info in DealMachine, which you can sign up for at DealMachine.com/pod. And as a bonus tip, when he's driving around looking for rundown properties, he leaves sticky notes and he leaves a phone number that they can call him back. And he's done a deal for $15,000 in the last month from that strategy alone. So don't sleep on those door hangers or sticky notes. And for more listening, check out episode 80, 3 steps to find off-market real estate deals. It's had 90% retention. Everyone's listening to this episode right now, and I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.